Cancer, aren't you tired of pretending you're not alone? Tired of carrying the weight of everyone else's world on your shoulders, while inside, a quiet emptiness lingers that no one ever sees? By day, you shine, smiling, giving, holding others together. But when night falls, and the silence wraps around you, the mask slips. And in that stillness, you ache for one simple thing: to be truly seen, to be deeply understood. I ask you this, not to wound you, but to awaken something in you. Because the truth is, your exhaustion does not make you weak, Cancer. It makes you human. And the very vulnerability you've tried so hard to hide, that is where your greatest power resides. You see, the universe doesn't overlook your loneliness. It doesn't ignore those nights when your light feels dimmer than the day before. Instead, it gathers every hidden tear, every silent prayer, and transforms them into a signal, drawing toward you the very connection your soul has been longing for. So I invite you, pause for just a moment. Let yourself feel how deeply this message finds you, right here, right now. This isn't coincidence. This is alignment. And maybe, just maybe, the emptiness you've carried is the space being cleared for something far greater to enter. Welcome to Buddhist Teachings, a channel where we don't just talk about the stars, but about the truth they reveal within you. Before we go further, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, because every gesture of support gives us the strength to bring you more messages that speak to the hidden corners of your heart. Now, stay with me, because what I'm about to share may change the way you see yourself, your relationships, and the silent power you've been carrying all along. 1. Behind the shell. Cancer's journey from hidden loneliness to true belonging. There's a truth about Cancer that many never see, because it lives behind the quiet smile, the composed demeanor, the way you always seem to know how to hold others when they are breaking. People gather around your warmth, they lean on your strength, they marvel at your resilience. But the paradox is that the more they admire your light, the less they notice the shadows you've been hiding inside. You've learned how to become the safe harbor for others, yet when the tide rises against you, how often have you found yourself standing alone on the shore? This is the silent wound of Cancer, the loneliness that grows not because you lack people around you, but because so few truly see the raw and tender soul beneath your armor. They love your confidence, but fear your vulnerability. They celebrate your strength, but shy away from your fragility. And so, you've mastered the art of hiding. You tuck away the parts of you that ache, the moments where you wish someone would simply say, "You don't have to carry it all alone." Think about history's great figures who carried nations, who held families, who bore the weight of collective hope. Often, the strongest became the most isolated. The general celebrated for victories, but never invited to grieve his losses. The matriarch who held her household together, yet fell asleep night after night with tears unshed. Cancer, you have walked a similar path, bearing a private solitude even while you shine in public. But here's the shift: the pain you've carried has not been wasted. It has been a forge. Your loneliness, while heavy, has sharpened your intuition. It has given you the gift of reading between silences, of knowing the heartache behind another person's smile. That is not weakness, that is sacred power. You see what others cannot, because you've lived what others avoid. And in a world that increasingly craves authenticity, your hidden vulnerability is not a flaw to be buried. It is the very magnet that will draw the right souls toward you. I want you to imagine this. Your shell, the armor you've worn for decades, cracking not in defeat but in liberation. Like a cathedral opening its stained glass windows to let the morning light stream in. You are not meant to be admired solely for what you can give. You are meant to be cherished for who you are. And there are people, perhaps just a few rare ones, who will not only celebrate your strength, but also cradle your weakness as something sacred. The question is, are you ready to let yourself be seen? Because here lies the turning point of your story. The old pattern, attracting those who only wanted the glow without tending to the flame, is dissolving. The universe, life, God, however you name it, is aligning you with those who will not run from your tears, who will sit with you in silence, who will love you not because you can carry them, but because they wish to walk beside you. This is where the narrative transforms. Loneliness is no longer the destiny. It is the backdrop against which you discover real belonging. Hope is not just a word written on a page. It is the hand that will reach back when you finally dare to extend your own. Cancer, your story has always been one of contradiction. Strength wrapped around tenderness, light rising out of shadow. But it is also a story of redemption. You have spent a lifetime being the safe place for others. Now, you are on the cusp of finding those who will be a safe place for you. And when that happens, all the years of silence, all the hidden ache, will not feel wasted, they will feel like preparation. Because sometimes the universe waits until you are truly ready to be seen. And my sense is that moment for you is near. 2. When the universe sends someone who truly sees you. There comes a moment in every Cancer's life when the silence inside grows louder than the voices outside. You've spent years giving, carrying, protecting, building a reputation as the anchor others can always rely on. People are drawn to your light, to your ability to hold space for them when they falter. They admire the resilience you wear like armor. But the truth is, that armor has been heavy. Behind it, there has always been a tender heart, longing not just to be needed, but to be known. I've often thought of figures in history, leaders who bore the weight of nations, mothers who held generations together, healers who poured themselves out until there was almost nothing left. They were praised for their strength, but rarely given permission to lay it down. Cancer, you know this story intimately. You've lived it. You've been the one who shines brightly for others, even as your own nights grew colder, quieter, lonelier. Yet the universe never wastes pain. The emptiness you've carried has become a kind of training ground for the soul. It has sharpened your intuition, teaching you to sense the unspoken, to notice the crack in someone's smile, to hear the grief hiding between words. And while others may only have loved the glow of your fire, that very ache has prepared you for something more profound, the kind of connection that doesn't just admire the light, but also honors the shadows. This week marks a turning point. The universe is moving in ways you cannot yet see, orchestrating the arrival of someone who is not intimidated by your depth, nor blinded only by your brilliance. This is not another admirer who will lean on your strength and disappear when you reveal your softness. This is someone different, someone who will sit with you in the silence, who will not flinch at your tears, who will love the wholeness of you. The strong and the fragile, the luminous and the hidden. It is almost as if life has been holding its breath, waiting for this alignment. And I wonder, are you ready to let yourself be seen? Not the polished, smiling version that makes everyone else feel safe, but the full truth of who you are? Because what's arriving is not about performance, not about duty, not about being the one who carries everyone else. It is about reciprocity. It is about a mirror that finally reflects back your worth in a way you've been craving for decades. In many ways, this is the promise of love in its truest form. Not love that depends on how useful you are. Not love that drains you while pretending to admire you. But love that stands beside you like a companion on a pilgrimage. Someone willing to walk with you through valleys and mountaintops alike. Think of the ancient travelers who found safety in numbers, who knew that the journey was lighter when the burdens were shared. That is what the universe is offering you now, the relief of no longer carrying everything alone. And here is where my personal reflection comes in. I believe loneliness is one of the great teachers of our time. For those of us past midlife, it's not just about finding another warm body to share space with. It's about finding resonance, truth, someone who doesn't just want the best parts of you, but is willing to hold the raw, unedited pieces as well. Cancer, you have earned that kind of connection. Not through perfection, but through the honesty of your journey. So when this person steps into your orbit, notice how different it feels. Notice how the weight shifts, how the silence softens. You don't have to rush, you don't have to prove, you don't have to perform. You only have to allow. Because the universe is not just sending you another admirer. It is sending you a witness, a soul who can look at you and finally say, I see you, all of you, and I'm not going anywhere. And perhaps, that is the message Cancer has been waiting to hear all along. 3. When Cancer finally meets the one who truly sees them. There comes a moment in life when the roles we've played for decades begin to feel heavy. Cancer, you know this weight better than most. You've spent your years being the rock, the caretaker, the one who carries the storms of others while keeping your own tides hidden. On the outside, you shine, a trusted friend, a loyal partner, the safe harbor for so many who have lost their way. Yet in the stillness of night, when the noise of the world falls silent, you've often felt the ache of invisibility. A longing not just to be useful, but to be truly seen. This story is not about loneliness as a permanent state, it is about the turning of the tide. Because the universe, in its infinite timing, is preparing to place in your path someone who sees beyond the armor, someone who looks at you and says, "You don't have to pretend anymore." And depending on when you were born under the sign of Cancer, this arrival will weave into your life in a way uniquely tailored to your journey. For those born between June 22nd and July 2nd, the presence you've been yearning for doesn't come from a stranger at all. It rises from the familiar circle around you, someone whose role you thought you had already defined. Perhaps a friend who's quietly admired your resilience, or an acquaintance who has always lingered on the periphery. Suddenly, almost like a candle being lit in a dark room, you'll realize they've been carrying a deeper connection all along. It will feel both surprising and inevitable, like recognizing a melody you thought you'd forgotten. For those born between July 3rd and July 13th, destiny asks you to step into uncharted territory. Your meeting comes outside your comfort zone, in an environment that feels new, even intimidating. Maybe it's through travel, a work opportunity, or a social gathering you nearly said no to. This is the universe's way of reminding you that growth lives just beyond the edge of safety. The encounter won't feel rehearsed, it will be raw, unexpected, and perhaps even inconvenient. And yet, it will shake loose the belief that your story has already been written. For those born between July 14th and July 22nd, your connection arrives through the hand of someone who genuinely cares for your well-being. It could be a sibling, a trusted friend, or even a mentor who introduces you to this person with quiet conviction, saying, "I just know you two need to meet." The beauty here is that the bond is born not out of chance, but out of love's deliberate weaving. It's a reminder that sometimes, the people who already honor your heart become the bridge to those who will honor it even more deeply. But what makes this connection so different from the relationships you've endured before is not grand gestures or dramatic sparks. It is the rare gift of being allowed to be yourself. You won't need to perform, to impress, or to polish your emotions into something palatable. You'll discover the relief of sitting in silence and knowing that silence itself is understood. The one who enters your life will carry the patience to wait through your moods, the gentleness to see through your forced smiles, and the wisdom to know that your quiet does not mean disinterest, it means trust. And here is where my personal reflection comes in. Too often, we mistake love for performance. We bend ourselves into shapes we think will be accepted, forgetting that real connection is never about being impressive, it is about being authentic. For Cancer, this lesson is profound. After years of giving more than you receive, after countless moments of dimming your own light so others could shine, the universe is now saying, enough. You deserve a love that asks for nothing but your truth. History tells us that revolutions rarely begin with noise, they begin in silence, with a single whisper that grows into an undeniable force. This moment in your life is just that, a revolution of the heart. The whisper you've been carrying, "See me, know me, love me as I am," is about to be answered. And when it is, you'll realize that the emptiness was not a flaw, it was the sacred space being cleared so something extraordinary could finally enter. Cancer, the tide is turning. And this time, you are not just the caretaker. You are the one who is about to be cared for. For Cancer, you deserve to be loved for who you truly are. There comes a season in every life when the masks we have worn for survival begin to feel heavier than the storms we've endured. Cancer, you know this better than most. You have spent years giving, nurturing, holding together the fragile worlds of others. Yet when the curtain of night falls and silence presses in, your own heart feels the weight of being unseen. By day, you smile, you shine, you protect. By night, you ache with a question you've carried quietly. When will someone finally see me? Not the version I perform, but the soul beneath the armor. This is the paradox of your sign. You are both the healer and the one who needs healing. History reminds us of countless figures who carried the burdens of others while hiding their own pain. Leaders, artists, visionaries who stood strong in the daylight but wept in solitude. And yet, Cancer, what if I told you that your loneliness has never been punishment, but preparation? That every tear you shed in silence has been watering the soil for something extraordinary to grow. The universe is not blind to your struggle. It does not overlook the nights when you felt like a lighthouse guiding everyone home, while no ship ever turned toward you. It has been weaving, behind the curtain of your life, the arrival of someone who will change the way you understand love itself. This person will not be dazzled by your strength alone. They will cherish the fragility you've hidden away. They will not ask you to prove your worth. They will mirror back the truth that you are already worthy. And here lies the deeper beauty. This connection is not about perfection. It is about truth. Real love, the kind that heals and endures, is not born in polished moments, but in the raw spaces where we dare to be human. Cancer, you deserve to be loved not because you always have the answers, but because sometimes you don't. Not because you are endlessly strong, but because your vulnerability reveals the courage of your heart. The past, with all its disappointments, has been your training ground. Every betrayal, every silence, every moment you felt invisible has carved within you a sharper clarity of what you will and will not accept. It has given you the gift of discernment, so that when this person arrives, you will recognize them, not by how loudly they declare their love, but by how quietly they understand you. And this relationship is not one-sided. It is a mutual journey of healing. You will not only be seen, you will be invited to see another in their full humanity. Together, you will build a space where wounds become wisdom, and where love is not a performance but a partnership. In this sense, love becomes more than romance. It becomes a spiritual practice, a shared path toward wholeness. As I reflect, I believe this is the lesson your sign has been carrying across lifetimes, that the truest bonds are never about utility or obligation. They are about recognition. To be fully met, to have someone look past your practiced smile and notice the silence behind it, that is the revolution of the heart you are destined to experience. And when it comes, it will feel less like fireworks and more like the sunrise. Inevitable, gentle, and utterly undeniable. So tonight, I invite you to make a declaration, not just to the universe, but to yourself. Write in the comments below, "I'm ready for someone who truly sees me." Let it be your affirmation, your quiet revolution, your signal flare. Because the moment you claim this readiness, you do more than attract love. You join a community of others, fellow Cancers, who are stepping out of silence and into the light of their own truth. Remember this: you are not waiting for love as a gift for being flawless. You are receiving love as recognition for being real. And perhaps the emptiness you felt all these years was never a void, but the sacred space being prepared for the one who was always meant to arrive. Cancer, the tide is turning. This time, you are not just the giver. You are the one who is finally about to be given to. 5. The turning point. When Cancer finally receives the love they deserve. There is a certain beauty in the way Cancer has carried the world. A beauty born of endurance, of generosity, of the quiet dignity that comes from giving more than you've ever asked for in return. People have leaned on you for decades, the family who saw you as the steady one, the friends who trusted you with their secrets, the colleagues who admired your loyalty. To the outside world, you have been unshakable, a lighthouse in the storm. But deep inside, behind that steady glow, there has been a longing that words could never quite capture. The longing to be seen, not just as strong, but as human. To be loved not only for what you provide, but for who you are when the lights are off and the mask is down. For years, you've convinced yourself that maybe this kind of love was too much to hope for, that perhaps being the giver was simply your destiny. Yet here's the truth the universe has been quietly whispering. You were never meant to walk through life unseen. Your heart, tender as it is, was never designed to be a hidden treasure. This week marks a threshold, a crossing into a chapter where love does not weaken you, it makes you stronger. For too long, you've carried the myth that vulnerability is dangerous, that opening your heart only leads to disappointment. But life is about to show you a different kind of story. One where connection is not about dependency, but about resonance. Where another soul doesn't just admire your light but honors your shadows, too. I think of the great cathedrals of Europe, built stone by stone over centuries. They were not only monuments to strength but also sanctuaries for the weary. Cancer, you have lived like one of those cathedrals, majestic, unyielding, a shelter for others. And yet even the grandest cathedral is not complete without the warmth of stained glass windows, colors that only come alive when touched by sunlight. That sunlight, for you, is love, the kind that illuminates the parts of you hidden for too long. And here is the shift. The universe is not punishing you for your kindness, it is rewarding you for it. Every tear you held back, every moment you chose compassion over resentment, every time you gave without asking, all of it has been accounted for. Life is aligning you now with a gift that matches your heart. Not another fleeting admirer, not someone who disappears when the weight grows heavy, but a true companion who brings balance to your giving. A love that doesn't drain you, but replenishes you. I believe this is where hope turns into destiny. Loneliness is not your permanent state. It was the teacher that prepared you for depth. This week, a turning point arrives, and with it, the possibility of a relationship that is sacred, mutual, and whole. Not perfect, but true. And perhaps, after years of carrying others, the greatest lesson for you is this: it is safe to be carried, too. What makes this vision powerful is not just romance, it's liberation. It's the freedom of finally knowing you do not have to earn love by being useful, by being strong, by being invulnerable. You are worthy of love simply because you exist. Because your heart has always been open, even when it hurt. Because the tenderness you once hid is the very thing that will draw the right soul closer. So, Cancer, let this be your awakening. Love is not the chain that binds you, it is the key that sets you free. And when it arrives, and it will, you will look back on all those lonely nights and realize they were not wasted. They were preparation. They were the silent shaping of a soul that was always meant to receive more than survival. You were meant to receive love in its fullest, richest, truest form. The universe has seen your heart. And now, it is time for that heart to be seen by another. Cancer, as we reach the close of this message, it's important to pause and see how far you've come in this journey of reflection. We began by naming the loneliness you've carried, the silent weight hidden behind your smile, and now we arrive at a place of healing. The story doesn't end with emptiness. It closes with the reminder that you are about to be seen, cherished, and embraced for who you truly are. This is not a distant dream, not a vague prediction, but a turning point. A doorway is opening, and stepping through it means stepping into a chapter where you no longer stand alone. Every wound, every sleepless night, every moment you wondered if love would ever find you has been shaping you, not breaking you. The heartbreaks and the disappointments were not punishments, they were preparation. They taught you to recognize what is real, to value what is lasting, and to never again settle for love that only notices the mask and not the soul behind it. That is why when this connection enters your life, you will know. Not because it will be dramatic or overwhelming, but because it will feel safe, honest, and undeniably true. I want you to join in something powerful. In the comments below, write these words: I'm ready for someone who truly sees me. Simple as they are, they carry the weight of a declaration. By putting them into writing, you're signaling to yourself, to others, and to the universe that you are ready to welcome this shift. And by doing so together, you create a circle of courage where no Cancer has to feel like they are struggling alone. Most of all, remember this: you are worthy of love not because you are flawless, not because you are endlessly strong, not because you light up the lives of others. You are worthy because you are human, because your vulnerability makes you beautiful, because your heart has always given without limit, and now, it deserves to receive. So take this as both comfort and invitation. Prepare not by building more walls, but by opening the door. The universe is moving in your favor. Someone special is coming, and when they arrive, you'll realize that all along, you were being prepared for exactly this moment.